Time now for the Daily Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround on The Answer Now TV.
I begin with Eric Trump, Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization. He is the author of a brand new book, Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation. I've posted the link over at X so you can pre-order Under Siege. Eric, welcome. I want to know first, I understand you're donating portions of the proceeds from Under Siege to Turning Point USA. What was your relationship with Charlie and why are you doing that?
Listen, Hugh, Charlie was a great man. I met him when he was 21 years old. He came into the Trump Organization. He told me all the plans that he had for Turning Point, and man, did that guy ever, make them materialize. We hear about a lot of BS in our lives and, a lot of lofty goals and aspirations, and he did every single one of them, and he did it better. And listen, the whole book, Under Siege, the whole concept is exactly what they've tried to do to my father, what they've tried to do to me, what they've tried to do to the MAGA movement. They've tried to kill us. They've tried to, bankrupt us. They've tried to censor our voice. They've tried to gag order us. They stripped us off of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They debanked us. They deplatformed us. They impeached my father twice. They went after his Supreme Court justices, as you know. They raided our homes. They tried to take him off the ballot in Colorado. They tried to take him off the ballot in Maine. Literally everything that they could to try and take down my father. They weaponized the FBI. They weaponized the Justice Department. I got, 112 subpoenas. Every AG case, every DA case, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, they put our family under siege. And then when that didn't work, they tried to kill my father, not once but twice, not only in Butler, Pennsylvania, but also in Palm Beach County. And then they tried to kill, they tried to kill Steve Scalise. They tried to kill Kavanaugh, and then they did kill Charlie Kirk. And so, why donate proceeds of this book? Because I never want any conservative to get off that stage. We have to be on that stage. We have to be willing to fight. And I'm damn committed to doing that, and I'm damn committed to making sure that everybody, the great people at Turning Point, continue to be able to do that.
Now, Eric Trump, I'm going to walk through some of the things I expect to see in Under Siege. I am curious at the beginning, though, why relive this? This has been a nightmare since he won in 2016. The establishment has been coming after him and your family. Why sit down and write a book about it?
Because I think it's got the greatest ending of all. And Hugh, that is the fact that we won, right? The fact that against unthinkable odds, we won. It's the law of unintended consequences. They thought by putting me in a courtroom every day, by putting my father in a courtroom, by sending me so many subpoenas, I lost track of them, by trying to bankrupt our family, by trying to censor us and laugh at us and weaponize the entire mainstream media against us, that, my father would say, this isn't worth it. I'm not going to do this again. And they were wrong. They were wrong. It was a law of unintended consequences where America saw through the sham. There was only so many times you could, cry wolf. And frankly, everything they did to torture us, the American people saw, and we won the greatest political victory of all time. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote. We won 11 extra counties in California. We won Miami-Dade by 11 points, a county that hasn't gone Republican in 37 years. And every single state in the nation tacked further to the right. And so it was the greatest victory of all times against all unthinkable odds. And so I think it's actually a very inspirational book and inspirational theme. And the story had to be told, especially the behind-the-scenes story. Every one of the stories, every one of the interactions with my father, every one of the, the attacks that no one saw, that weren't reported in the news, how we got through them, what they tried to do, and how we ultimately triumphed.
Now, Eric, I retired from the practice of law in 2016, so I'm not practicing anymore. One of my last partners was Robert O'Brien, so you know that we charged a little bit. Can you give me some sense of how much you personally had to spend on lawyer bills?
Well, that's a great irony, right? For all these sound bites coming from, the far left, Trump, quote unquote, profits off of government. We probably spent $400 million in legal bills to protect ourselves from absolute shams. I was the guy, Hugh, that got the call from the FBI, from the New York Times and the Washington Post saying, hey, I hear you have secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating directly with the Kremlin. I go, excuse me? Secret servers where? First of all, we don't have any servers in basements because basements flood. Second of all, we're largely a cloud-based computing company. And yet, and you reported on it better than anybody, Hugh, every day for, 3 years? They pitted the two greatest nuclear superpowers against each other so some greedy woman could get an extra couple votes. They knew it was a sham. And despite that, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars protecting ourselves, protecting our employees for something that was totally made up. It was made up and paid for by Hillary Clinton, and so.
No, I will
that's
want
a great
you to come
irony.
back after I've had a chance to read every line in Under Siege, but I want to start on January 6, 2017. That's when FBI Director Comey, CIA Director Brennan, the head of the DNI, James Clapper, and then Mike Rogers of the NSA came to Trump Tower. Comey asked to speak with your father alone. I think it was an ambush. I think it was planned from the start. Do you agree with me?
It was absolutely an ambush. Hugh, I mean, just back to kind of Russiagate for a second, they knew day one that there was no Russia collusion. I mean, they knew that there was no servers in Trump Tower. They know that there was no communication with the Kremlin, and yet they perpetuated it for 3 years in order to hurt my father. They all lied. All of those same, characters, including Garland, lied. When they raided Mar-a-Lago, they said it was done on behalf of, the National Archives. Give me a break. It wasn't done on behalf of the National Archives. Later on, it became very clear that Biden actually approved the raid at Mar-a-Lago, right? And so it was always a lie. They were doing anything they could to get my father. They wanted my father in prison. They wanted me in prison. They wanted our company gone. And we've won every single lawsuit ever since. But, Comey was a crooked cop. There's no question about him. He is the worst of law enforcement in this country. The FBI is the greatest, institution. And by the way, if there's one thing that you learn from the Charlie Kirk assassination is how good the FBI can be. They found the guy in 31 hours, 32 hours. Whereas under my father's under Biden, they spent more time raiding Mar-a-Lago. I was the guy that got the call when they raided Mar-a-Lago, where one of my guys tells me that there's 30 people at the gate, and they're demanding that Mar-a-Lago turn off all of its security cameras. And I go, I'm not turning off my security cameras. I've got no legal obligation. Why am I turning off my security cameras? And then we find out, Hugh, as you know better than anyone, that they were planting, classified folders all over my father's office, laying them on the ground, doing little photo shoots, after they raided Barron's room, after they raided Melania's room. This was the siege. Try and impeach him, try and bankrupt him, try and kill him, try and get his family, try and get him divorced, try and humiliate him, try and get his kids to turn on him, go after his employees, make his life absolutely hell. And when that didn't work, as I said before, that's when they tried to kill him in Butler, and that's when they tried to kill him in Palm Beach. It's unthinkable what they did, and America can never relive what we dealt with as a family. Again, the good news behind all of this.
To the ambush.
The good news is we won.
That Comey orchestrated. As soon as Comey left the office, he had a special assistant by the name of Josh Campbell, who works for CNN now. Josh Campbell wrote a book in which he said, quote, "Once safely back in the car, I immediately handed Comey the secure laptop. Comey didn't say a thing. The first time we'd ever climb into a vehicle without exchanging words, but began typing. He paused ever so often to stare out the window as we navigated the city, and he went back to writing. After about 20 minutes, he followed through, following a thorough proofread. He handed me the computer, pointing to the place on the screen where I should begin reading. I was now learning Comey's version of a meeting that would spell the beginning and the end of his career, and one that would mark the start of a veritable hurricane, a torrent of attacks on the rule of law that would risk threatening the viability of our national institutions of justice." I almost laughed when I read that, but I do like the idea that his special assistant confirms he got in the car and started making up a story. Do you think he's going to be convicted?
I do. I mean, Hugh, one of the great ironies of everything that Comey's gone through over the last couple of days is no one's focused on the fact that the FBI director, listen, a guy that's supposed to be keeping, terrorists from running planes into buildings like we saw happen on 9/11, somebody that's supposed to be keeping our home front safe from unthinkable amounts of threats that we have, both foreign and domestic, is literally taking the time to leak damaging things about Donald Trump to the New York Times. Like, I can safely say that everybody watching the show, including you and I, would actually much rather have the FBI protecting our home front and protecting our nation and protecting our citizens, than playing these political sham games. And I saw it all the time. One of the stories I tell about in Under Siege is I got called down to FBI headquarters in New York. And, Eric, we'd like to brief you on a threat to the company. So I go down there. No one knows about it, Hugh. I get there. There's a cyber threat against, the company coming from, Iran. But you can't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody you were here. You can't tell anybody you were ever here. Literally, Hugh, I am leaving the parking garage. A friend of mine from ABC News calls me. Eric, what were you doing down in FBI headquarters?
Oh,
I
my
have no idea
goodness.
what you're talking. I have no idea what you're talking about, John. He's like, I know you're down there right now. I go, John, I have no idea what you're talking about. I had signed my life away. I had done everything. Eric, don't BS me. I know exactly where you are. John, I have no idea what you're talking about. How would you even know? Because the FBI called and told me.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel. Stay informed anytime, anywhere with the Salem News Channel at 9:30 a.m. TheAnswer.com. This has been The Daily Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround on The Answer Now TV.